I'm in GT, my brother is Broly. Chapter 126. Reach an agreement and draw out the Supreme Kai sword. Add 100%. Glancing at the Supreme Kai, Bubba said indifferently, only if you teach me the Supreme Kai version of instant transmission. Hearing this, Dong Supreme Kai widened his eyes. 100% sure. The latter is so confident. Don't be ashamed. At this time, Jabbit on the side couldn't bear it any longer. He knew the horror of Majin Buu. Bubba actually said that he was 100% sure, which was simply conceited to the extreme. Noisy. Glancing at Jabbit, Bubba said with a cold expression, it's just Majin Buu. Even Xenianbo is stronger than him. What qualifications does he have to become this king's opponent? Let's not talk about this king. Son Goku and Son Gohan under this king can completely kill him. As soon as these words came out, the audience fell silent. Dong Supreme Kai looked at Bubba with a shocked expression, then looked at Son Goku and Son Gohan subconsciously, and said, you two, is what Mr. Bubba said true? Hearing this, Son Goku and Son Gohan looked at each other. Immediately afterwards, Son Goku said, Lord Supreme Kai, if it's true as Lord Bubba said, Majin Buu's power is not as good as the evil mind wave, then Gohan and I are indeed enough to destroy him. Good. Son Gohan also nodded and said, if it is only comparable to the evil thoughts wave, then Majin Buu is not a threat. My father and I are enough to defeat it, and even kill it. As soon as these words came out, Dong Supreme Kai completely believed it. If Bubba's words made people suspicious, the sincere expressions of Son Goku and Son Gohan made him sure of it all. Thinking of this, Dong Supreme Kai immediately became excited, turned his head to look at Bubba and said, Mr. Bubba, I accept your conditions. I will now teach you the Supreme Kai version of instant transmission. 35. At that time, once Majin Buu has a tendency to break the seal, please ask Mr. Bubba to solve it. 35. It is good. Hearing this, Bubba nodded in agreement without hesitation. Majin Buu's basic combat power is only about 900 billion, and even Kid Buu's strength will not reach the level of trillion. Don't say it's him now. Even before hell, he can easily solve it. Thinking of this, Bubba immediately said, so, let's go to the Supreme Kai world. I need to learn the Supreme Kai version of instant transmission in it. As long as you teach me, then I will help you solve Majin Buu's problems. No problem. Nodding, Supreme Kai couldn't wait. With such a powerful foreign aide as Bubba, he is now full of confidence. Immediately, Dong Supreme Kai turned his head to look at Jabbit and said, Jabbit, take Mr. Bubba to the Supreme Kai world. I want to teach Mr. Bubba instant transmission. Yes, Lord Supreme Kai. Hearing this, Jabbit hurriedly agreed. Although he was still a little unwilling in his heart, he did not dare to disobey Supreme Kai's judgment. Immediately, Jabbit stepped forward and said, Mr. Bubba, please grab my shoulders, and I will take you and Supreme Kai to the Supreme Kai world now. Wait a minute. 39. Seeing this, Bubba quietly stopped. Son Goku and Son Gohan are going with me too. Hearing this, Jabbit subconsciously looked at Dong Supreme Kai. The Supreme Kai world is the area where Supreme Kai lives. Mortals are not eligible to enter it. No problem. However, Dong Supreme Kai didn't care at the moment. He waved his hand and said, everyone, let's act now. Seeing this, Bubba nodded in satisfaction. After saying hello to Son Goku and Son Gohan, the two quickly stepped forward to grab Jabbit. With the launch of instant transmission, Bubba and the others immediately disappeared from King Kai. Seeing this, King Kai breathed a sigh of relief and murmured, finally gone. Scared me. That guy Bubba actually made a deal with Lord Supreme Kai. This Saiyan is really amazing. It seems that the future will turn a blind eye to Saiyan's affairs. Supreme Kai world. Zizzy. Space shaking. Bubba and his group successfully entered the Supreme Kai world under the leadership of Jabbit. After floating to the ground, Son Goku and Son Gohan looked around curiously and couldn't help but wonder, is this the Supreme Kai world? The place where Supreme Kai lives is so big, not at all comparable to where King Kai lives. 99. This Supreme Kai world is bigger than the Earth. It's amazing. For the praise of the two, Dong Supreme Kai and Jabbit are quite useful, and their eyes are also friendly by 3 points. Immediately afterwards, Dong Supreme Kai looked at Bubba and said, Mr. Bubba, I will now teach you the Supreme Kai version of instant transmission. 35. Having said that, Dong Supreme Kai stepped forward and prepared to pass on the information and cultivation methods of instant transmission to Bubba. No hurry. 99. In this regard, Bubba waved his hand at will, and then said, East Supreme Kai, I remember that you seem to have a Supreme Kai sword that is known as the strongest in the universe. I wonder if you can give me some insight. 5. Supreme Kai sword. The strongest in the entire universe. Hearing this, Son Goku and Son Gohan looked curious, especially Son Gohan. He now has a long sword created by Super Evil Thought Wave with a source of evil in his hand, and the power of this sword is extremely terrifying. And now there is a stronger sword in the Supreme Kai world, which is incredible. How do you know? Brows raised, Dong Supreme Kai gave Bubba a surprised look. However, he did not refuse, and immediately said, in that case, Mr. Bubba, please come with me. The Supreme Kai world is a divine sword that has been handed down from ancient times. It is said that as long as it can be pulled out, it can obtain unparalleled power. Unfortunately, even though I am a Supreme Kai, I can't pull the Supreme Kai sword out of the ground. 39. While talking, Dong Supreme Kai arrived at the location of the Supreme Kai sword with Bappa and others. Pointing to where the Supreme Kai sword was inserted, Dong Supreme Kai said curiously, "Mr. Bappa, would you like to try it?" 35. Can. Hearing this, Bappa agreed immediately. His purpose is for the Supreme Kai sword. No, it should be the old Supreme Kai sealed in it. Now that things are so close at hand, how could he give up? Immediately, Bappa stepped forward and grabbed the Supreme Kai sword directly. Tilde. With a low drink, Bappa's chi spewed out, and the Supreme Kai sword was instantly pulled out by him. How is that even possible? The Supreme Kai sword was drawn. This scene directly made Dong Supreme Kai and Jabit widen their eyes, staring at the Supreme Kai sword in Bappa's hand, and their hearts were shocked to the extreme. Chapter 127 Save the Old Supreme Kai, Target Development Potential. This is the sword that Supreme Kai can't pull out. Even generations of Supreme Kai's efforts to pull it out have failed. Now that it was pulled out so easily by Bappa, it's unbelievable. Mr. Bappa. Subconsciously, Dong Supreme Kai stepped forward and asked, "Have you ever felt your strength getting stronger?" No. With a nod of his head, Bappa casually swung his Supreme Kai a few times. "It didn't strengthen me." How is this possible? Hearing this, Dong Supreme Kai was dumbfounded. How can information passed down from generation to generation be wrong? Bappa pulled out of the Supreme Kai world. How could he not get a power boost? Gohan. 95. At this time, Bappa turned his head to look at Son Gohan and said, "Pick up that evil longsword and try it with me to see how powerful this sword is. Is it okay?" Hearing this, Son Gohan raised his longsword subconsciously, but his eyes were also on Dong Supreme Kai. After all, this Supreme Kai sword seems to be Supreme Kai's treasure. In this regard, Dong Supreme Kai said confidently, "The Supreme Kai sword is the strongest sword in the universe, and it must not be comparable to the longsword in your hand." 39. Okay. After receiving the reply from Dong Supreme Kai, Son Gohan didn't hesitate any longer. He raised his longsword and slashed towards Bappa. Seeing this, the corner of Bappa's mouth rose slightly, and immediately raised the 093 Supreme Kai sword to greet him. Click. The sound of shattering resounded, and under the unbelievable gazes of Dong Supreme Kai, Jabit, and others, the Supreme Kai sword directly broke into two. Seeing this scene, Son Gohan was dumbfounded and said in disbelief, "Why did it break?" "Broken. This is impossible." Dong Supreme Kai and others rushed forward quickly, looking at the broken Supreme Kai sword and wanted to cry without tears. Supreme Kai's treasure is so vulnerable, it's just breaking his nerves. However, at the moment Bappa's eyes are on an area. He could feel that after the Supreme Kai's sword broke, the old Supreme Kai's chi began to emerge. The next second, a white light flashed in the distance, and the figure of the old Supreme Kai appeared. Finally out. Seeing this, Bappa's eyes flashed, and he secretly said, "The potential of the old Supreme Kai is developed." 5. Whether it's Son Goku, Son Gohan or Broly can all improve a lot. I might even be able to develop my potential and bring out the mysterious state of the active version. 39. At this time, the old Supreme Kai had regained his freedom and stepped forward, finally came out. "Are you the Supreme Kai of this generation?" Not bad. As he said that, his eyes looked back and forth on Bappa, his eyes filled with approval and satisfaction. Although Bappa's chi was concealed, the old Supreme Kai could also feel his power. "I'm not Supreme Kai." 35. Looking at the old Supreme Kai, Bappa said indifferently, "The Supreme Kai here is him." Having said that, Bappa pointed to Supreme Kai on the ground that had not yet returned to God. Immediately afterwards, he looked at the old Supreme Kai and said, "You should be the sealed existence in the Supreme Kai sword." 99. I let you out now, so should you repay me? What? You are not Supreme Kai. Hearing this, the old Supreme Kai widened his eyes, subconsciously looked at the East Supreme Kai on the ground, frowned and said, "This generation's Supreme Kai is this?" Obviously, he couldn't believe the latter was Supreme Kai. The old Supreme Kai's combat power may be poor, but there is no problem with his eyesight. How can he not see that the East Supreme Kai's combat power is pulling his crotch? "I am Supreme Kai." At this time, Dong Supreme Kai came back to his senses, looked at the old Supreme Kai and said, "Old man, who are you?" "Why in my Supreme Kai world, idiot?" Hearing this, a black line appeared on the forehead of the old Supreme Kai, and he stepped forward and gave Dong Supreme Kai a shot, then scolded, "I am your Supreme Kai before the 18th generation. It's too bad, the Supreme Kai of your generation is so weak, it's really not as good as a generation. No wonder no one can save me after being sealed for so long." After speaking, the old Supreme Kai ignored the shocked Dong Supreme Kai and Jabit, looked at Bappa and said, "Saiyan, what do you want me to repay you?" It is determined that Bappa is not Supreme Kai. The old Supreme Kai did not dare to be arrogant. After all, he could feel the power of the latter. If they really do it, The latter can even destroy them all. Simple. The corner of his mouth rose. Bappa glanced at the old Supreme Kai, then pointed to Son Goku and Son Gohan not far away and said, I need you to help him develop their potential. And of course, myself and my brother Broly. 99. Hiss. Develop potential. Add. Hearing this, the old Supreme Kai's pupils shrank, and his eyes towards Bappa became serious in an instant. He never told anyone about developing his potential. Most importantly, he has been sealed within the Supreme Kai world for tens of millions of years. It stands to reason that even if the existence of this era knows that he is sealed, it is impossible to know his own ability. How did the Bappa in front of him know his abilities? And he was so sure. Subconsciously, the old Supreme Kai looked at Bappa with a little more alertness and anxiety, but more of it was helpless. Without him, because he knew very well that he had no choice. It could even be said that he could not refuse Bappa's request at all. After a little pondering, the old Supreme Kai quickly made a decision, raised his head and said, I can help you develop your potential. 35. But I can only develop potential for one person at a time, and it takes 7 days each time. Nodding, Bappa pointed to Son Gohan and said, Gohan, come here. 39. Yes. With a promise, Son Gohan hurried forward. After arriving at Bappa's side, he bowed and saluted, Uncle Bappa. Nodding, Bappa looked at the old Supreme Kai and said, then let Son Gohan develop his potential first. 95. Old Supreme Kai, I hope you don't let me down, but really develop his potential. He can remember that in the original, although the old Supreme Kai helped Son Gohan develop his potential, it was only part of it. Although it is because the time to deal with Majin Buu is tight, it also illustrates a problem from the side, that is, Son Gohan's potential is far more than that in the original book. It may even be the deliberate suppression that the plot needs, but now there is enough time and there is no obstacle. If the old Supreme Kai can't develop Son Gohan's full potential, it's a bit unreasonable. Chapter 128 Learning Instant Transmission. Add. It is good. Nodding, old Supreme Kai gave Bappa a deep look. Although he didn't know why the latter knew so much, he also understood that he had to do his best in this matter, otherwise, the consequences would be absolutely unimaginable. Thinking of this, the old Supreme Kai looked at Son Gohan and said, Son Gohan, right, sit down, old man, to develop your potential. Yes. With a promise, Son Gohan didn't refuse. He understands that the so-called potential of the old Supreme Kai is to make him stronger. So, in such a situation, Son Gohan has no heart to resist. Immediately, Son Gohan went to the area in front of the old Supreme Kai and sat down. Immediately afterwards, the old Supreme Kai no longer hesitated, and immediately began to dance and start the ceremony of developing his potential. Bappa nodded in satisfaction as the old Supreme Kai moved. Immediately afterwards, his eyes turned to Dong Supreme Kai on the side, and he said, East Supreme Kai, let's start too. Oh well. Hearing this, Dong Supreme Kai woke up like a dream, although it is still a bit like a lifetime. He also understands that Bappa seems to have given him another huge favor. Old Supreme Kai. The old Supreme Kai, 18 generations ago, was rescued by him. Under such circumstances, it can be said that Supreme Kai owes Bappa another big favor. Compared to each other, what is instant transmission? Add. Thinking of this, Dong Supreme Kai immediately stepped forward. Mr. Bappa, please sit down and concentrate. I will now teach you the Supreme Kai version of instant transmission. It is good. Nodding, Bappa did not refuse. He was also looking forward to the Supreme Kai version of instant transmission, and sat down immediately. Immediately afterwards, Dong Supreme Kai no longer hesitated and walked forward directly. After a while of preparation, a white light appeared on Dong Supreme Kai's hand and then covered Bappa's forehead. In an instant, Bappa felt the cultivation method of the Supreme Kai version of instant transmission coming into his mind continuously. As time went on, Bappa became more and more aware of the Supreme Kai version of instant transmission. Even because the East Supreme Kai did not have a private collection, all the coordinate positions of the entire universe were also mastered by Bappa. Ding! Congratulations to the host for learning the Supreme Kai version of instant transmission. After a long time, the system prompt sounded. The next second, Bappa's body shook and his eyes opened. Standing up on the ground, Bappa's whole body disappeared from the spot as soon as his thoughts moved. When Bappa opened his eyes again, the whole person had already appeared in the celestial realm of the earth. Immediately afterwards, Bappa tried a few more times with the Supreme Kai version of instant transmission. He roamed the 4 galaxies in the east, west, north and south without any obstructions, and his speed was faster than that of Kali's, the angel. Good. At the end of the attempt, Bappa burst out laughing. Instant transmission was successfully mastered by him, and from now on, even if he encounters a losing opponent, he will be able to have the ability to save his life. The most important thing is that after completing the instant transmission, he doesn't need to use the abilities of the universe spaceship and Kalas to go anywhere in the future. Thinking of this, Bappa's mind moved again and launched instant transmission to return to the Supreme Kai world. Master Bappa. Add. Mr. Bappa. Seeing Bappa's return, Son Goku and Dong Supreme Kai stepped forward. After arriving beside him, Dong Supreme Kai then asked, Mr. Bupper has completely mastered instant transmission? Good. Nodding, Bupper glanced at Dong Supreme Kai and said, I've completely finished instant transmission. East Supreme Kai, I have to thank you too. If it wasn't for your teaching, I would not be able to master it at all. Then you just have to keep an eye on what's going on inside Earth, and if nothing else happens, someone will come to Earth and try to wake Majin Buu. When the time comes, you can directly send a message, and I will solve it as soon as possible, and at the same time help you eliminate potential crises. Even if I couldn't get in touch at the first time, the ability of Son Goku, Son Gohan and my brother Broly was enough to solve it all. 39. In a good mood, Bupper promised without hesitation. After all, he has no grudges with Dong Supreme Kai, plus the latter is so funny, he doesn't mind having a good relationship with him. It just so happens that, with Supreme Kai's permission, it will be simpler and easier for him to establish the Justice League to protect the entire universe in the future. Thank you, Mr. Bupper. 35. Hearing this, Dong Supreme Kai was overjoyed. Don't you do so much because of Bupper's words now? Zero flowers. Thinking of this, Dong Supreme Kai is also in a good mood. You know, he was so worried about the demonic energy and the Majin Buu before that he was speechless. Now that these things have a solution, Dong Supreme Kai will naturally not continue to worry. Thinking of this, Dong Supreme Kai immediately said, Mr. Bupper, I listen to you. I'm going to focus on things on Earth next. With a nod, Bupper turned his head to look at the old Supreme Kai who was still developing his potential for Son Gohan, and then said, Kakarot, you are waiting here. When Son Gohan's potential is developed, you start developing potential. I'm leaving now, and when your potential is developed, I'm sending Broly here. Zero. Yes. Nodding, Son Goku's eyes were full of anticipation at the moment. He can remember what Bupper said before that this old Supreme Kai can develop the potential in his body, which is definitely an opportunity for him to improve his strength. Very good. Nodding with satisfaction, Bupper didn't stay any longer. After saying hello to Dong Supreme Kai and the old Supreme Kai, he immediately launched instant transmission to leave the Supreme Kai world. New Vegeta Star. Bupper's figure immediately appeared in Kalai's palace. Mr. Bupper, did you learn instant transmission? Before Bupper could breathe a sigh of relief, Carrie's voice came from the side. Looking at the reputation, it can be seen that Carries has just finished bathing at the moment. Even just wearing a tulle, there is almost no obstruction. It is really charming to the extreme. Cough cough. Seeing this, Bupper couldn't help coughing, but he didn't look away and said, Calais, continue teaching me Ultra Instinct. I triggered it again when I was in the underworld, but I still couldn't control it. No problem. 35. Nodding her head, Calais took the scepter and immediately changed into Angel's service. After all of this was done, Calais's eyes flashed. Mr. Bupper, I will now give you a more mastery of Ultra Instinct's practice. Saying that, Carries appeared in front of Bupper in a flash, and the scepter in her hand even attacked a certain area of him. Chapter 129. The potential development is successful. The mysterious Gohan is born. FK. Carries, you're going too far. His pupils shrank, and Bupper hurriedly avoided the attack, only to feel the cool breeze, and the whole person couldn't help trembling. If that fragile area was hit by Calais, it would be unimaginable, and there was a possibility of a chicken flying. No. However, Calais was expressionless at the moment, and continued to wave her scepter. Mr. Bupper, I'm here for your own good, to help you master Ultra Instinct more. Saying that, Calais continued to wave the scepter in her hand. The tricks pointed directly to Bupper's key points, and the speed and power were getting faster and faster, so Bupper was holding his breath and dodging quickly, and he didn't even dare to say a word. The embarrassed Carries was too ruthless. If she dared to be distracted, it would be a chicken and egg fight, which Bupper could not accept. At the same time, Bupper also understands that it's not that Carries doesn't care about 097. It was fine the first time, but this time, Carries was obviously a little embarrassed, but she didn't say it. Wait for me. Sooner or later you will sing Conquest. With a vicious murmur in his heart, Bupper continued to practice Ultra Instinct under the guidance of Carries. Time flies, and 7 days have passed in the blink of an eye. Supreme Kai World. As the old Supreme Kai stopped developing, the whole person walked to the side area tiredly. Son Goku, Dong Supreme Kai and JB all stepped forward. Has the old Supreme Kai, old ancestor, been completed? 5. Good. Hearing this, the old Supreme Kai moved his body and then looked at Son Gohan on the field and said, this little guy's potential is too strong. I can only develop about 1/5 of it with all my strength. No wonder that Papa wanted me to do my best before, but the author is waiting for me here. As far as this consumption is concerned, I won't be able to slow down within 2 or 3 days. As soon as these words came out, Son Goku, Dong Supreme Kai and JB all nodded thoughtfully. Immediately afterwards, their eyes also turned to Son Gohan on the court, looking forward to how much he would improve his combat power after he woke up. With the passage of time, Son Gohan, who was sitting on the ground, has gradually shown signs of awakening. After about 10 minutes, Son Gohan suddenly opened his eyes and stood up from the ground. Gohan, seeing this situation, Son Goku immediately said, try aerating and see how much you have improved this time. Okay, Dad. Hearing this, Son Gohan also nodded. He can feel that his own strength has improved a lot this time, but he is not sure how much it has improved. Immediately afterwards, Son Gohan didn't hesitate, just clenched his fists and shouted, "Ha!" The next second, surging chi swept out of Son Gohan's body. With the rapid growth of chi, Son Gohan's combat power soared rapidly by 70 billion, 100 billion, 400 billion, 430 billion. When it reached 430 billion, Son Gohan's boost of energy came to an abrupt end. So strong. 35. Gohan suddenly became a lot stronger. More than 400 billion basic combat power. This is simply too powerful. Feeling the breath of Son Gohan at the moment, Son Goku trembled with excitement, and his eyes were full of shock and anticipation. You must know that Son Gohan's urgent combat power was only more than 6 billion before. Now it is suddenly increased to 430 billion, of which 424 billion has been fully increased. This is only 1/5 of the potential in Son Gohan, and if more is developed, he will only be more terrifying. Most importantly, it was all developed directly by the old Supreme Kai. This also means that if Son Goku can develop his potential, he may be able to increase his combat power by hundreds of billions. What? At this time, Son Gohan seemed to have noticed something, and looked at the old Supreme Kai and said, "Old Supreme Kai, I feel that I seem to have mastered a special transformation ability. Is this transformation ability real?" 99. Special transformation ability. Hearing this, Son Goku's eyes showed a hint of surprise, and he subconsciously looked at the old Supreme Kai beside him. Good. In this regard, the old Supreme Kai said very proudly, "Your potential is huge, and I have caused a part to combine with you with special power." 39. Now you can try to transform. It should be stronger than your Saiyan's transformation. What? Transform stronger than Saiyan? Hearing this, neither Son Goku nor Son Gohan could hold back. After looking at each other, Son Gohan said immediately, "Ha!" In the next second, Son Gohan's body was violent, and the whole person immediately entered a mysterious state. 0. Immediately afterwards, Son Gohan's chi began to soar rapidly, and in just a few breaths, Son Gohan's chi increased to a full 2,500 trillion. What a powerful transformation. After the transformation was completed, Son Gohan suddenly opened his eyes and said subconsciously, "Dad, the transformation enhancement in this state is actually stronger than Super Saiyan 3. I feel that in this state, my basic combat power has been fully enhanced by 600 times. 35. 600 times the base combat power." Hearing this, Son Goku was dumbfounded, and said subconsciously, "Super Saiyan 3 is only a 400 times increase in basic combat power. Unless it is a Super 3 full power state, it is completely incomparable to your current transformation, Gohan." Subconsciously, Son Goku looked at the old Supreme Kai and said, "Old Supreme Kai, what kind of transformation is this? Why is it so powerful?" Not only Son Goku, but Son Gohan is also looking at the old Supreme Kai curiously at the moment. This is a mysterious state. In this regard, the old Supreme Kai did not hide it, and said directly, "The mysterious state was developed by me based on Son Gohan's own potential. The transformation of this mysterious state is in a sense superior to your Saiyan's transformation. In addition, this mysterious state can also be advanced. If Son Gohan has enough ability in the future, he can even develop a deeper mysterious state based on this 0.7. Hearing this, Son Goku and Son Gohan couldn't help taking a deep breath. The transformation form that surpasses the super race and can continue to develop stronger states. Doesn't that mean that if you practice this transformation well, you don't even need to stick to the super race form at all? And 35. At this time, the old Supreme Kai seemed to think of something, looked at Son Gohan and said, "The consumption of this mysterious state and its subtlety are almost the same as your normal consumption. And according to my inference, if you can master it thoroughly, you can even perform super transformation in a mysterious state. At that time, with the power of the two forms, you Son Gohan will have the possibility to be the strongest in the universe." Chapter 130. The soaring combat power. The omen of freedom. Gudu. Son Goku and Son Gohan swallowed after listening to the old Supreme Kai's words. Including Dong Supreme Kai and Jabit also looked at Son Goku in amazement. The former is shocked that the mysterious state and the super game form can be combined and transformed, and the latter is shocked that Son Gohan had such potential. "That's great, Gohan." After a while, Son Goku regained his senses first, walked over to Son Gohan's side, patted him on the shoulder and said, "Did you hear? Old Supreme Kai said that you have the possibility to become the strongest in the universe in the future." Dad. Hearing Son Goku's praise, Son Gohan's face was also slightly red at the moment. For the latter's praise, he was also at a loss for a while. But soon, Son Gohan calmed down and said, "The strongest existence in the universe should be Uncle Bappa." 55. Besides that, with Uncle Broly, Dad and Vegeta, I will definitely try to get stronger. 35. Hearing this, Son Goku nodded immediately. While mystery is strong, Son Goku also understands that Bappa and 20 Broly have stronger potential. However, if Son Gohan managed to transform into a super race in a mysterious state, it would definitely not be inferior to Broly. Thinking of this, Son Goku also felt Alexander in his heart, turned his head to look at the old Supreme Kai and said, "Old Supreme Kai, when will you be able to help me develop my potential? I also want to see if I can master the mysterious state of Gohan." 99. After that, Son Goku looked straight at the old Supreme Kai, his eyes full of anticipation and desire. 3 days. Will start in 3 days. Hearing that, the old Supreme Kai was not choked to death, so he quickly said, "I'm too exhausted to develop the potential for Son Gohan, and I want 3 days to repair it." All right. Hearing this, Son Goku lowered his head in disappointment. Although 3 days are not long, he can't wait at this moment. In this regard, the old Supreme Kai ignored it, turned around and walked to the side to sit down and rest. Going all out to develop his potential is also a huge drain on him, so he's not cheating Son Goku. Ding. The bound character Son Gohan has increased his combat power by 424 billion to trigger a tenfold return, and congratulations to the host for increasing his combat power by 4.2 trillion. At the same time, Bappa, who was practicing Ultra Instinct with Kali's, suddenly trembled. With the power of the system pouring out, Bappa's combat power soared rapidly at this moment. In just a few breaths, Bappa's basic combat power soared to 11.8 trillion. It was at this moment that the scepter in Kali's hand attacked, aiming directly at Bappa's heart. Not good. When the crisis struck, Bappa's face changed drastically. But at this moment, he has no possibility of dodging, and watching the scepter keep approaching, the whole person is also in a trance. Buzz tilde. Suddenly, a humming sound resounded. With a hot breath swept out, Bappa's whole body was covered with silvery white brilliance, and his hair and eyes turned silver at this moment. The next second, Bappa evaded Kali's attack with an almost impossible sideways motion. This is relax. Seeing this situation, Carrie's eyes lit up, and the anger in her heart also dissipated a lot. However, she did not stop the movement in her hand, but accelerated the waving of the scepter in her hand. In this case, Bappa's figure was constantly moving and dodging in the arena, directly avoiding all the attacks of Kalis. With the passage of time, Bappa's whole body has also woken up like a dream. Looking at Carries who was constantly attacking, he couldn't even reflect, but his body kept avoiding the attack. It's done. For the first time, Bappa was overjoyed. He can be sure that he has definitely achieved the ultimate freedom, otherwise it would be impossible to achieve such a level. For a moment, Bappa was overjoyed. You know, Son Goku in Dragon Ball Ultra Universe completed this Ultra Instinct also at the stage of the full universe conference. According to his speculation, Son Goku's strength at that stage is at least at the level of Rang or Groove. According to the original owner's settings, Beerus combat power is 10, Super Saiyan is 6, Super Blue is 7, and Deep Blue and Kaioken Super Blue is 8. Less than 10,000 combat power is 1, 10,000 to 10 million combat power is 2, 100 million to 100 billion combat power is 3, 1 trillion to 1,000 million combat power is 4, 1 to 1,000 Beijing combat strength is 5, 1 Gai to the 1,000 Gai combat power is 6. Yazi to Kianzi has a combat strength of 7, a Rang to 1,000 to Rang has a combat strength of 8, a Ditch to Kiangyu has a combat strength of 9, and a Stream to Kianjian has a combat strength of 10. Bappa's combat power is now 11 trillion, which is stage 4. If it is the state of anger and the transformation of Quan Jiao 2, Bappa's combat power will reach about 100 capitals. But it is also at the stage of 5. That is to say, Bappa learned Ultra Instinct even less than Super Saiyan. This is definitely a gift, and no one will believe it if it is spread out. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully mastering the omens of freedom. At this moment, the system prompt sounded quietly, and many more. A sign of freedom? The smile on his face stopped abruptly, and the corner of Bappa's mouth twitched. Not Ultra Instinct? It's the first grade sign of freedom. I knew how this Ultra Instinct could be mastered by me so quickly. 39. Zizige is divided into 3 stages. Zizige Omen, since 097 Zage Gong, Perfect Ultra Instinct. In the original, Son Goku was created from nothing in the context of an all-universe convention, from the free zodiac sign to the Ultra Instinct. It can be said that the opening and hanging are directly interpreted to the fullest, but Ultra Instinct is powerful enough, but the free zodiac sign is different. Unlike Ultra Instinct's offensive and defensive integration, there are no flaws, and the free extreme omen focuses on defense and dodge, and is completely insufficient in attack, and even difficult to launch. It can be said that the current Bappa has more than enough self-protection after completing the Omen of Freedom, but he is still extremely hip in attack. Unless it is to learn how to zoom in on Son Goku's face, the only way to ensure that his own attack will not be avoided. You're distracted. At this moment, Carrie's voice resounded quietly. In the next second, the scepter quietly emerged from the side and directly attacked Bappa's body. With a bang, Bappa fell to the ground, and the omens of freedom also dissipated. Cough cough. Coughing in his mouth, Bappa looked up at Carries, who was not far away, and said, "It's really merciless, Miss Carries." 35. But I just finished that, right? But why does it seem to me that it's obviously not enough? If you like this audiobook, subscribe the channel for more videos like this. And join my Patreon if you want to support me, where you can find advanced audiobooks that hasn't been uploaded on YouTube till now. Leave some comment and let me know if you guys like this story, or you have a web novel you like and want to hear its audiobook. I will be happy to create them for you. Please like, share, and leave a comment on the video.